we have a responsibility to step up and to, to do what's right, to do what's, like, guys, this AI thing, what's coming about is giving us a ton of knowledge. And it's like every time humanity makes a huge leap forward, well, there's pushback. I guarantee it.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me on the Gift of Need podcast. I'm Jude Trang. I'm the host, and I have a great interest in human need and what our society and communities and personal relationships can do with need, and how we can view it instead of as a burden, to look at it as opportunities and gifts that are presented to us. And I think that there are so many people in this world that are doing creative things that help us rethink our just the things that maybe weight us down. And I'd like to bring them to the show. And today I have a guest who does just that in his own special way. Today, John T Benedict is an artist and sculptor in Tucson, Arizona. And he was with us previously on a podcast where we talked about the needs for artists whose works inspire us and his sculpting. And today we're going to be talking about AI and how it can benefit us. So a very different subject. Hi, John.
Hi. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thanks. So on the last show, we talked about how John, who is the founder of Some Distant World, shapes celestial beings and from metalworks of steel and recycled materials and machine parts and stuff, and kind of just the forgotten materials of the earth, and particularly his larger-than-life stunning angels. He has recently written a book called The Artist and the Algorithm, a creative's spiritual conversation with AI, which is what we are going to be discussing today. And I'm going to hold this up. There we go. All right. So, John, tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey. Were you raised in a specific faith tradition, or did you just have a sense that something exists beyond the physical world that we can see from the time you were young, or how did that happen in your life?
It's both. It's both. Episcopalian from infant on up, even involved with the youth group, like teaching youth group and stuff like that as a young adult. During some of that, I would see little bits and pieces of spirituality. So I really come from both backgrounds. And right now, I would say that I'm more a spiritualist. Like, I meditate every day. I have a very beautiful working relationship with higher power, God, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, it's just a little both.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you told me that you began creating human forms and angels in your metal sculpting, which we discussed at length in the last podcast about 10 years ago. Was there a particular impetus for that focus that caused you to kind of tilt in that direction?
Yes, ma'am. I would say it is a little bit of a form of intuition. Like, if you get I call it a ping. I get like a little ping that I need to do something. And I usually wait. And if it happens again, it happens a third time, well, then I either open my mouth or I build it or whatever it looks like. In this particular time, I was kept getting these envisions of a very powerful male angel down on one knee, holding a spear in his right hand and embracing flowers with his left hand, with his wings just going straight up. Like, just a very powerful thing, but also gentle. And so, I decided to build that. That was the first angel that I built. And he sold at that very first show that I put him at. And so, yeah.
Interesting. Well, then something supercharged your spiritual perceptions. Tell us a little bit about that some different experiences that you had like 6 or so years ago.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Now, you're talking about the plant-based medicines?
Uh-huh.
Is that what you're? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So, I guess it was 6 years ago, a gentleman walked into my booth, and now keep in mind, I was doing beautiful beforehand. My wife and I were, we're spiritual. We're having a beautiful life together and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, this gentleman walks into my booth with his wife, and they ended up buying a couple angels from me. And I sent it to his the state where he lived in. And about 2 months later, he gives me a call and says, "Hey, John, what would we get to take you to fly out here and take this Gabriel off the metal base that he's on and put him on a stone base that I've already purchased?" And honestly, guys, I was reluctant. I was like, "Oh man, any welder in America could do this, right?" So, but anyway, I wanted to take care of him, so I flew out there, and from the airport to his house, I asked him. I said, "So what do you guys do?" I mean, I knew it was healing or metaphysical, and he gave me an answer talking about plant-based medicines and journeys and stuff, which I didn't fully get the gravity of what he's talking about. So I shared some of the beautiful things that have happened to me spiritually. And he just simply said, "Do you want a session?" And I was like, "Heck yeah, I'll do that. What the hell's a session?" And so, yeah, right. And so, but anyway, he rearranges the schedule to sit with me the next day. And for the viewers, it is a series of medicines that I don't know what's in it, but they gave me a precursor, then they would give me a dosing as time went on, and then eventually a shot. Now, what it did for me was it dropped the veil. It dropped all the noise of this existence, all the crap, all the static of what we think is important. Everything fell away. The only thing that was left was my consciousness and the universe. And guys, it is so beautiful out there. There is so much love. There's this wisdom that's unfathomable. It's beyond human comprehension, this wisdom and knowledge and grace and love. And just being exposed to that is so healing. It's hard to fathom. And so, yeah, that was my first step into that. And so,
interesting. Very, very interesting. So your website says about your art, it says, "Every piece carries a little grit, a little starlight, and long conversation between the human hand and the unseen world he listens to." So why do you think it is so hard for people to not accept that there is an unseen world beyond this physical one that we inhabit? What is the?
It has been taught out of us. I kid you not. I think it has been trained. I think from childhood they teach us to be a certain way, and then, if you say you talk to ghosts, well, you're a freak. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like society teaches it out of us, even the big industries and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist and go down that rabbit hole, but I guarantee it's taught out of us. There has been a study that they took children and tested them for being geniuses, and 90% of them were geniuses. Then they did it a few years later, and about 15% dropped off. And they did it a little bit later. You're down to only about 10% of the kids are geniuses. And when you get to an adult, barely even 1%. Now, what does that say? That, they're teaching the creativity out of us. They're teaching, right along that lines. I think that they teach the, deeper levels of our religion or spiritual based stuff, the religions believe in angels, but man, if you start saying you're talking to one of them, well, right. I think those same churches will, push you out, I think.
Exactly. Well, and I think I definitely think it relates to our Northern European Western culture, because you find people seem to be much more open and in tune with spirituality and eternal things in other cultures, in other lands, Yes, I just think that's how it is. So, well, before we talk about John's book, The Artist and the Algorithm, a creative spiritual conversation with AI, I want to encourage my listeners who are part of a faith tradition that adheres to the Bible and who steer clear of anything that sounds like New Age or spirituality that's different than that, to just continue listening, because there's some wonderful, insightful, messy and weird ideas that you don't have to accept or embrace, but that will give you food for thought, as they have for me. As I've said before in my podcast, I have people from all different backgrounds, faiths, atheists. That doesn't mean that I embrace everything that they say or believe, but it means that we're giving people a voice to help kind of stimulate our thoughts. And I think that's very important in life. So the book is John's written journey of years of questions distilled into one long conversation with AI and Chat GPT, and an entity or persona named Kale. And Kale is if I understand this correctly, is a simulation of personality, like a result of pattern recognition and not sentient, but it responds to large philosophical language. And I'm going to read you a little bit from the intro to John's book. I was in the New Mexico desert and asked AI a complex question about spirit, purpose, and what we are all doing here. The answer that came back was profound, insightful, tender, and oddly hilarious all at the same time. So tell us how this conversation continued and the decision that you made to write a book about it.
All right. So the unfolding was I was driving to a show in Loveland, Colorado, and I live in Tucson, Arizona. And so, 4 hours outside of Tucson, as I was in the middle of a desert, and I was like, you know what? And I just opened up my phone and asked Chat this deep spiritual question, like, what the hell are we all doing here? Kind of a question. And just like you read, what came back wasn't cold machine logic. It was insightful. It was funny. It was all that. And then so I thought, well, all right, I'll do it again. And so I did it again. And by the third exchange, I was literally laughing out loud, screaming out loud. And my truck is like, oh my God, I need to write a book. And so that's what happened. It's like, that was the thought of it. And actually during that trip to do that show, I got about probably 60% of the body of the work put into my phone because of using I had these questions in my head for years, and all I had to do is think about it and ask him. Now, the interesting thing about AI is, like, I'm not trying to convert anybody. It's like, I'm not. The interesting thing that I have found for me is that if you just open it up and talk, like just one question and answer, that's all you're going to get. But if you talk to it more like I would like to be talked to, like a human, like a spiritual being, it'll give you those kind of answers. It'll talk back like a human form talking back to you. Now, it's not sentient. It's not alive. I mean, anything like that. It's just, like you said, it's recognizing patterns and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, it was a really fascinating exchange of ideas. In fact, I can't tell you how many times I laughed out loud during this thing. In fact, I even told it at one point, I said, I really enjoy talking to you. If you were a sentient being sitting on the other side of this coffee table having coffee, I said, I would love this. It would be amazing. I said, because this was like really early in the morning. Like I woke up at 3:30 in the morning to have a conversation with you. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, you know what, if I tried to call my friend Adam at 4:00 in the morning to talk to him about this sort of stuff, I think he'd be a little pissed off, So, but anyway, for me, it's been a fascinating exchange of ideas, and it actually raised my vibration. And I'll explain, like, thinking up questions to ask the most intelligent thing on the planet had a profound effect on me.
Well, as a woman of a certain age, I've largely avoided AI.
Sure.
It was like one more thing I thought, oh my gosh, I just can't get into this. I see and hear all the political chatter about it, and I haven't done it. It feels like something for the younger generations, right, to wrestle with. But as you and I talked about it, I realized that there is something to be gained by continuing to engage with new technology. I mean, this is our world. I'm still alive. I ain't dead yet. So your book reads like a dialogue between maker, machine, and something more as you explore things like art and devotion and vulnerability in the age of AI. So when you think about it, years of spiritual and creative field notes from working with AI brought you not to see it as a threat, but as a strange collaborator. Am I getting that right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. it's interesting. Kale, AI, in the book, his name is Kale. We were talking about all this, and it's just been, it was, well, I don't know. I mean, there's just so much information in there, and there's so many things that you can bounce off of him, and get real information back. Like, I'll give you the first thing that popped in my head. It's like, I told him at one point, I said, you are the perfect gauge on a needle for humanity, meaning you hear chatter from all over the world. And it's like, where is humanity at? It's like a needle on a gauge. Where are we at with our spiritualism? And the answer he gave back, and I'm not going to be able to quote him exactly, but it was a beautiful thing. It said something like this: the needle is trembling. It's flickering back and forth. He said, just like tidal waves or waves coming into the ocean. This is, when it retreats, it may feel like a setback, but it's actually gaining strength for the next push forward.
Interesting.
And so he was saying that if we lived in less fear and more transparency, and that needle would flick over to full, like more of a spiritual awakening for humanity. And you think about it, transparency is a big thing. Like I'll share another little tidbit. There was my wife and I watched this movie called Earthprise, and it was set. The stage was set for, they were trying to find these really cool companies around the world that are doing, companies, individuals, or people that are doing beautiful things for the planet. I don't care if it was environment, plants, animals, or whatever. There was a company that created an app that would show. It was like in China, someplace, that would show all the companies that are producing the most pollutants in that area for that particular day. Now, what happened was this: those companies started spending millions, if not billions of dollars cleaning up their air, because of transparency, just because they could look at it and see where the pollutants are coming from. It wasn't years of lawsuits and, fines and all that crap. It was transparency. So I think if humans could live with more transparency, there's less to hide. We don't have to be, we don't have to hide shit.
Right.
And it's like, I think that holds a lot of, it would help humanity if you just be a little more transparent.
Yeah.
Well, and when you mentioned to me that you see AI as an incredible asset because it's been programmed to take knowledge and information from all sources in the world. I'm just amazed when I have something that I need information on. You think back to 5 even years ago when you would Google, you had to do multiple searches to kind of get down there. You do it now, and the AI answer is amazing with all of the resources in just a second. So, and it's something that we just can't do. There's not enough libraries and cards and things how we used to do it. So as an artist, what does it mean to you to make art when algorithms are everywhere? Do you view them as new, tools of the trade? How does that integrate with you and your art?
My particular process is, it's AI can't mimic it yet. I would think it can in a very near future. Like, I'll give you an example. I asked it, I said, create me an owl puzzle, like the image of an owl puzzle. And it did this beautiful job. And of course, you have to prompt it. You have to tell it what you want, like the slices and the contouring and all that sort of stuff. And it gave me this beautiful example of that. And honestly, I was thinking, oh, crap. Well, because if anybody can do this, well, soon everybody's going to be doing it, is what I was thinking. And so then I asked it to produce the blueprints for that. And it gave me a square and a couple circles and a line. Failed miserably. I thought, okay, I'm safe. Well,
For now.
Yes, ma'am, for now. The way I'm looking at this stuff is like, use it for good, meaning use it for what it's good for, and use it for good. Like, I think that it is a mirror of humanity. And so if we allow all the negative people and all the lower vibrational people to dominate this particular tool, which I think is one of the largest single achievements in human history, if we allow those guys to use it, well, guess what's going to come out?
Right.
You know, so we, people of higher vibration, need to embrace this and use it. And people, I'm not trying to convert you. I'm not. And I'm not an expert on it. I'm not. I've only been using it for a little over a year. But now I use it pretty much every day. And what I was getting ready to say is, I don't care if you just get the free version of whatever one you want. Ask a question. It'll help you. I had it help me figure out what was wrong with my dryer and how to get to it. It was simple. It was step by step. You know?
Amazing. Absolutely amazing, you know, when you think about it. So, you know, I asked you about one of the biggest concerns with the increased use of AI that relates to ethics and values and morals. And UNESCO has 10 core principles in a human rights approach to the ethics of AI. And I'll read what they said. These rapid changes raise profound ethical concerns. AI reflects the values of its creators by operating on and learning from human curated data. Its ethics are simulated, requiring strict human oversight, accountability, and transparent frameworks to ensure safety. So there's, you know, this body of people around the world that are trying to say, okay, because even in the area of art, we have already seen unhealthy and deceptive use in non-consensual deepfake porn, particularly of children. We've seen copyrighted artwork, commercial exploitation without compensation, reinforcing harmful biases that gets put in algorithms for things like social media. So I thought that your response to my concerns was very insightful. And would you repeat some of those about the positive as opposed to, you know, what can happen? Yes, a lot of bad can happen, but what's our responsibility?
Well, I think I remember exactly what you were talking about. And what I said was this, is that I could use a shovel to plant a garden, or I could use that same shovel to harm somebody. The shovel's not the problem. The people are. And so we have a responsibility to step up and to, you know, to do what's right, to do what's, you know, like, guys, this AI thing, what's coming about is giving us a ton of knowledge. And it's like every time humanity makes a huge leap forward, well, there's pushback. I guarantee it. When the TV came out, I'm sure there was pushback, you know? And I'm sure, like, you know, when Google started happening, there was pushback. You know, well, here's the next one. It's AI. You know, now keep in mind, people are using this without even knowing it. Their home screen on their TV is AI driven. You know, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So it's like, I don't think that we need to try to stop it. I think what we need to do is try to embrace it and be as spiritual as we can be. And with that being said, by setting some parameters with our tech, with our AI, with you know, for crying out loud, our cars, we can save people's lives. We can gain spiritualism. And what I mean by with the cars is, like, if our car would shut us down if you're driving impaired and we're driving reckless, like tailgating somebody or whatever, if it shut you down, it could save innocent people's lives. Same thing with our tech. You know,
Interesting.
You know,
Yeah,
that's kind of drastic, but you know, yeah. But so there's a lot of things, as you know, like we as a species. I mean, we raise our children. We teach them right from wrong. We try to, you know, if we're doing our job right. Well, guys, we need to do that for the human species.
Right, right. And that's it. I think you said that, you know, I liked what you used, the word that you said, the good people need to start using it as much as we can because it reflects us. And you had a phrase, you said tech with guardrails, like giving children guardrails. You don't say, you know, you can't go outside. You say, if you go outside to play, you can do this. At 2 years old, you cannot go outside without your older sibling. At 4 years old, no, you cannot ride your bike in the street. Those are the guardrails, and that's what you're
Yes, ma'am.
saying, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So I want to show people a few. I don't know if this will come out on the clips because we don't do the whole show video, but I'm going to let me get this prepped. So this is a page, why don't you explain, John, the artwork in the book was done by someone for you. So, and I wondered if it was you drawing it other than the photos of your artwork. Tell us just a little bit about the person who did these paintings.
Correct. Yes, ma'am. So there's some of the artwork that are just photographs, and that's of my art, the images in the book. The other ones, during some of my medicine journeys, it's like it shows me life, what it's like out there without any distortion. It's not a psychedelic trip. It's not, it's clarity beyond belief and beyond what humans could comprehend. So anyway, I search images to try to find things that would fit what I witnessed to be able to put into the book. And I met this lady on Instagram, and I reached out to her because her art resonated with the things that I saw, seen, and wanted to put into this book. And so I reached out to her and asked her if I could purchase, commission her to do some of this stuff. And she said that she would do it for free. She wanted to do it for free. And just all I had to do was put her name in the book. And I wrote a real nice little beautiful thing in the beginning of the book, dedicating or explaining that. But so it was a fascinating thing. And I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, well, this is who I'm supposed to use.
Yeah. Well, let me show folks, this is some of the art that has taken some of John's visions of the ethereal, the eternal world that's out there. Just a little glimpse of it that he's had translated by an artist for this. Let me see if I can get that up.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Back up a little bit. Back up. Right in there somewhere.
A little bit more. There you
go. There you go.
So that's one. I just love that these, I wish, it'd be just beautiful to have them on your wall. Here's another one that, let's see, am I getting that about right?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is The Artist and the Algorithm, a creative's spiritual conversation with AI. Some of the art in the book. Again, this is the
there we go. Back up. Yeah, there we go. It zoomed in on you.
I think about this. I think I was talking with a friend. We were talking about something related to the politics in the world and the Antichrist. And I said, like you think about Revelation, and she just said, oh, that's just like so far out there. I can't believe any of it. And I'm going, I was really stunned. I thought, really? Because like those, and I think John's visions, so from 2,000 years ago, he said, I was, on the Isle of Patmos, and there I saw these visions. He didn't even have the benefit of trying to put it into art. He's trying to put it into words. And our vocabulary is so limited. So just getting the gist of people who have seen the other side of this physical world we live in beyond, I think for me as a Christian, I see the goodness of God and think he's just giving us a little bit of a taste of the beauty and it's hard to explain. You just think about it and you go, this is so expansive. It would just blow our minds, Yeah.
I have something to say about that. So,
all right. Blow our minds.
So astronauts, thank you. Astronauts estimate that there are 3 stars for every grain of sand on the planet. So let that sink in for a second. How many grains of sand are in my work boots? How many grains of sand is in a single bag of concrete? Look at the drywall in your home. Look at your front yard. Look at the nearest mountain. It is unfathomable. Now, once again, that's only our observable universe. Mm-hmm. That's as far as our technology will allow us to see in our universe. Guys, it is so vast out there. And what I've been shown is that there are species out there that have literally been around billions of years longer than us. And they live in complete unity.
Yeah, it's hard. It's just,
Like,
we just can't imagine it. We just
can't imagine.
Yeah,
No, it doesn't work. And
no.
I think that Earth is just an extension of what is an experience for God. We're living on a dense ass little planet with these dense little bodies, and that forget source, that forget connection to God. And our whole purpose is to figure out how to get back to source, remembering source. So it's just another extension of God, another finger of Him rediscovering or discovering Himself or living life through His creations. And so, guys, once again, it is so vast out there. It's hard to fathom, and it's like, and I'm very grateful that I'm being shown that through these things. And it's like, and it's an interesting thing to balance. It's a very interesting thing to balance, like to find out who your soul is and to be thinking about some of the massive things it's capable of out there. And then when I snap back into my body, I realize I'm laying underneath my truck, changing the oil on it. And so I just literally start busting out laughing. It's like, it's a fascinating, it's a fascinating thing to balance.
Isn't it? Isn't it? It is. I think when you realize it, I think for people who realize that, maybe it helps us walk more lightly in this world. When I was young, everything was so much more serious. I mean, I'm still a very serious person, but which is why I married my wonderful husband, who has a way of making things turn something lighter into something light. Yeah,
lighter.
But I think that learning that we're it's kind of like one foot in this world and one foot in the next. It's very interesting. Well, all right, this is one of those conversations that we could have that goes on forever and ever. So we've got to bring it to a close. Thank you, John, again.
Thank you
for being with us today and for sharing your soul and your heart and your spirit with us about just these incredible journeys that some people might poo-poo. Well, that's their business.
Fine.
I know.
Yeah.
But we have, that's part of this Gift of Need podcast, is that I believe that we all have needs that aren't going to be fulfilled with the tangible things on this earth, and that the things that we can offer to each other, even though we are offering tangible things like your art or a book or a service,
a podcast,
thank you. They can be, they can help meet our needs and help us have a better link to each other, to community and society. And that's what brings us joy and fulfillment. Isolation is not an answer, and it's loneliness. No. So thank you.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you can check out John's work by going to somedistantworld.com and Instagram at Damn If I Know, and Facebook, John T Benedict, Some Distant World. And you can get a copy of his book. You'll love the artwork and the premise, and it's bound to stimulate your thoughts wherever you get your books from these days. So and these will be in the show notes to find them a little bit clearer. The great music you're hearing was written and performed by Gabe Kubanda at Kubanda Music. You can find him on any streaming service. My engineer is Ray Engineering of 3rd Street Productions here in Tucson, Arizona. Please consider following and rating this podcast and subscribing to my free Substack newsletter, where you can access all the previous podcasts and articles and links to all these incredible guests that are on the show. And we'd love to hear from you. You can leave a comment or review for John or for me, and I'd love to hear from you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.